Hey everyone, welcome to our channel. Here we will go in depth with all the information you need to learn of Middle-earth and its amazing characters. From where does Sauron come from, to the origins of orcs, Ents, and even follow the travels of our most beloved characters. So if you are a fan of this type of content regarding the history of Middle-earth, don't forget to subscribe for more. Also don't forget to turn on the bell notification to be notified whenever new content has been put up on our channel, Dwarfs of Khazad-dûm. About 2 videos will be posted weekly, so don't forget to comment and give a like to let me know that you are enjoying this video. So to not take any more time, let's get back to our video. What exactly are Ents? Ents are tree-like creatures who over millennia became more and more like the trees they herded. They varied in height, size, coloring, and number of fingers and toes. They had 3 to 7 root-like toes, deep dark eyes, and were also very tall, several meters in height or about 17 feet. How old are Ents? Treebeard was believed to be the oldest Ent who ever lived, maybe 17,000 to 20,000 years old. In the time when Middle-earth was merely a giant forest, Treebeard roamed the land, presumably with his love, Fimbrethil. He was so old that he remembered the time of elves teaching the trees to speak, recalling how they wanted to talk to everything. The elves had tales of teaching the trees and the Ents to talk. Although the Ents were sentient beings at the time, they did not know how to speak until the elves taught them. Treebeard spoke of the elves curing the Ents of their dumbness, an unforgettable gift. The Ents were apparently created at the behest of Yavanna, a queen of the Valar, after she learned of Aulur's creation of the dwarfs, knowing that they would want to destroy trees, forging iron for their mining. She pleaded with Manwë, the leader of the Valar, to create a race to protect all that grows, plant and trees. Manwë agreed and said that when the dwarfs awoke, summoned spirits from afar would dwell into the fauna and flora and a new race would come to life from the seeds of Yavanna. So about a century after the elves awoke in Cuivianin, the 7 fathers of the dwarfs were roused during the years of the trees. This is the supposed time of the Ents awakening. Although, the spirits that became the Ents were much older than Treebeard and are most likely spirits created with the Aina before the creation of the world, they would take physical form with Treebeard's and the Ents awakening. They became shepherds of the trees, they protected the forests from orcs and other perils. The Huorns. The Ents walked the forests, and after some time it is said some Ents became more tree-like and the ancient trees became more Ent-like and limb-lithe. Thus a new race came to be, referred to as Huorns, of whom the Ents cared for and tended to in the Second and Third Ages. The Huorns mostly stood as dark trees in the deepest forests, gnarled and unmoving, yet watchful. However, when aroused in wrath they moved swiftly as if wrapped in shadows, falling on foes with deadly and merciless strength. The hobbits are said to have met the power of the Huorns. Old Man Willow was a great willow tree of the old forest. He was the root cause of much of the forest's anger and hatred towards trespassers. In the year of the Third Age 3018, Old Man Willow cast a spell on the hobbits Frodo, Sam, Merry and Pippin when they passed near him, causing them to feel sleepy. Merry and Pippin leaned against his trunk and fell asleep, while Frodo sat on a root to dangle his feet in the water, before also falling asleep. Willow then trapped Merry and Pippin in the folds of its trunk. Sam and Frodo attempted to burn Old Man Willow in order to release their friends, but Old Man Willow communicated to Merry, still inside his roots, that if the burning did not cease, the hobbits would be squeezed to death. They were saved by the timely arrival of Tom Bombadil, who sang the ancient tree to sleep. The Entwives. Entwives were the mates of the Ents. Entwives preferred smaller plant life such as small trees, grasses, fruit trees, flowers, and vegetables, while males tended the larger trees. They moved further east, crossing the great river Anduin and began living in what became the Brown Lands, tending lush gardens. The Entwives also seemed to have some power over plants. The Entwives ordered them to grow according to their wishes, and bear leaf and fruit to their liking, for the Entwives desired order, and plenty, and peace, by which they meant that things should remain where they had set them. But a time came in the Second Age when these immense forests were cut by the Númenóreans or destroyed in the calamitous War of the Elves and Sauron during the 17th century of that age. The shrinking of the forest solidified the Ent separation from the Entwives. The Fangorn forest was just the eastern end of that immense forest, and one of its small remnants. In the Third Age, the Fangorn forest was apparently the only place Ents still inhabited, although the Ent-like Huorns may still have survived elsewhere, as in the Old Forest. However, with the rise of Sauron throughout the Second Age, these lands were destroyed. After that they disappeared, and everything about them was the subject of rumor and conjecture, being remembered only in the songs of men and elves. Ents looked for their Entwives for millennia, yet they could never find them. Some Ents looked for them very far, but with time they stopped looking for them in far distances. They still have hope they will be found again, as without them there can no longer be any Entlings. It is safe to say that with no Entwives and their slow decline with time, numbers of the Ents had dwindled by the end of the Third Age. According to Treebeard, there are no Entings upon Middle-earth at the time of the Third Age, and there have not been any for quite some time. And there will never be any more Entings afterwards either, as there are no Entwives. The Ents grew old without hope of having Entings, some grew treeish and ceased moving or speaking. So what really happened to the Entwives? It is most likely most of them died during the scourged earth policy employed by Sauron on the land. But like everything, it is most likely very few of the Entwives survived. The forest was very big in the times of the past that a few Entwives must have been in other parts of Middle-earth, not all completely located in such a small portion of forest. To complete eradicate a population is something impossible, and hope is something that has always characterized Arda and its Middle-earth. Halfast Gamgee claimed that he saw an elm-like tree man walking in the North Moors. However, it was never learned whether the tree man was an Ent, an Entwife, or just a story. This adds to the notion that if there are Ents in other regions, then most likely there is a possibility there might be Entwives there too. Also, throughout history we have been taught that there are those who don't follow the norm and choose to live life apart from the rest. This gives hope that indeed some of the Entwives may have parted to other parts of Middle-earth to grow gardens and tend to them rather than follow the flock to just one forest of the many areas in Middle-earth. Another possibility is that some Entwives may also have suffered the fate as some Ents and reached a dormant state in their loneliness. The Wars of the Ents. The Ents are said to have helped Beren and his folk to wipe out the dwarfs in the Battle of Sarnathrad. The battle occurred after the Battle of the Thousand Caves and the sack of Menegroth by the dwarfs, who killed the elves of Menegroth and took the Silmaril. Silmarils, known as the Gems of Fina, are among the most prized of all the wonders crafted by the elves and were coveted by many. After sacking the ancient elven kingdom of Doriath, the dwarfs of Nogrod returning to Nogrod were heavy laden and slowed by the spoils of their victory. Upon reaching Sarnathrad, they were suddenly assailed by a foe they could not at first identify. As they climbed the river banks of the Gelion, they saw that they were elves. The elves defeated them, and as they fled they were attacked by Ents living next to the Blue Mountains. In the battle 300 dwarfs fought 300 elves aided by 30 Ents. The elves were looked highly upon by Ents for teaching them the art of speech, and they came to render aid to destroy the remaining dwarf forces. Little is known if they participated in the War of the Last Alliance against Sauron. The gardens of the Entwives were ruined by Sauron. It would not be a surprise if the Ents were then involved in the War of the Last Alliance, which apparently involved all forms of life: men, elves, dwarfs, and even beasts. The Last March of the Ents. In The Two Towers, the second volume of Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, the Ents, usually very patient, deliberate beings, become angry at Saruman, whose armies are cutting down large numbers of their trees. They make an Ent meeting called an Entmood, and decide how to deal with this calamity done against them. They come to the conclusion to destroy Isengard and head toward it with an army of Ents and Huorns led by Treebeard, the oldest Ent. Merry and Pippin recounted their incredible power. Their punches can crumple iron like tin, and they can tear apart solid rock like bread crusts. "Will you really break down the doors of Isengard?" asked Merry to Treebeard. "Oh, we could. You do not know perhaps how strong we are. Maybe you have heard of trolls. They are mighty strong. But trolls are only counterfeits, made by the enemy in the great darkness, in mockery of Ents, as orcs were of elves. We are stronger than trolls. We are made of the bones of the earth. We can split stone like the roots of trees, only quicker, far quicker, if our minds are roused. If we are not hewn down, or destroyed by fire or blast of sorcery, we could split Isengard into splinters and crack its walls into rubble. Eventually, an army of Ents and Huorns led by Treebeard of Fangorn attacked Isengard. They destroy Isengard in an all-out assault and trap Saruman in the Tower of Orthanc, which was surrounded by a ring wall. Orthanc, the black impenetrable tower of Isengard, was built by the Dunedain, the early men of Gondor. During the Ents' assault on Isengard, they destroyed the dams built by Saruman's minions and therefore flooded the place. The Ents wrecked all of Saruman's industries and the ring wall, though unable to force entry into or damage Orthanc. They managed to inflict slight damage on the tower, but their efforts ultimately proved to be futile. The tower was constructed out of 4 piers of stone and then hardened by an unknown process. No weaponry or magic that existed on Arda was known to be able to harm it. Following this, the Ents intercept a force of orcs sent to invade Rohan, sending them fleeing. The Huorns pursued them until they were destroyed. Well friends, hope you had a great time with this video. Please comment and let us know what you thought of this story and give a like to help spread this content out there. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button for more lore of the world of Arda and Middle-earth. This is Dwarfs of Khazad-dûm wishing you a great day. See you on the next video.